is... Hello. Okay, let's see if we can get this together. Okay, so I'm here a little early trying to get set up. Hopefully, Diane will be here shortly and be able to join in with getting started with a salon. How do you open it? What do you need to know? What are some of the things that you need to think about? And sometimes, we go into opening a salon with all types of high hopes and great expectations, of course. And sometimes the reality of actually setting up the salon and getting the T's crossed and the I's dotted can be more than a notion. I had one of my salon daughters, I think some of you may know, but I had two assistants that started with me. One was 14 when she started, and the other was 15, and I became their other mother, and they're my salon daughters. And so one of them opened her first salon this past year, and I got quite a few phone calls along the way, like, help, and it's like, what's going on? And, sometimes just needing to vent, sometimes wanting some, some direction, I guess you could say. And so that's part of why we're putting this together today. And Diane is going to join us shortly. She is a seasoned professional. It's like she's actually had several salons. She's been doing a few things in the process and has experience with a suite, and so I just wanted her to share some of her experiences with you. So hopefully we will be able to get her on really quickly and be able to get into the nitty-gritty of everything. So one of the things with opening a salon, as I mentioned, we usually kind of go in, bright-eyed and really excited about what the future holds, and that things are going to be, kind of just peachy. And so one of the things, I guess, from my perspective, is that I would encourage you to kind of do some homework. I used to teach a class that was called 5 Things to Know Before You Open Your Salon. And definitely one of them has to do with clients. I got a message from young lady I used to work with. She's relocated and starting in a new place and going out into booth rent for the first time. And so my first question is, do you have clients? And because if you're going to be a business owner, which, if you're a booth rental, you're a business owner, you're an independent contractor, in business for yourself. And if you are renting a suite, you're definitely in business for yourself. If you are opening a full salon, you're in business for yourself. And so when you kind of sign on the dotted line, you are responsible for that rent, whether you have clients or not. And so I think it's always wise to make sure you have clients, even more so than money. Some people will go in, they've gotten some money from X, Y, or Z, or maybe they've done a lot of savings to get ready for it. But you don't want to spend all of your savings paying rent every week when you're not actually doing or servicing clients that are bringing in the revenue to cover those expenses that you'll have. And of course, rent is a big one, but it's not the only one. And so if you're setting up a salon, you've got other expenses. You've got furniture and those types of things to set up. Which that's always the fun part, it's like, oh, we're going to put this over here, we're going to have this paint color on the wall, and, you've got swatches going, and, all kinds of good stuff with the whole decor, which is where a lot of people spend a lot of time. But, in addition to, how are you going to pay for all of that? If you're in a suite, you have limited exposure or limited expenses depending on how the suite is set up, to different decorations that you may want to bring in, or some of them, I looked at suites at one point, and some of them just come with like a chair and a station. It's like they barely have, or a chair and a bowl. I think one of them I looked at doesn't even supply a station. And so you are responsible for bringing in all those kind of things. And of course, if you're renting a booth, everything is already set up for you. But some of the things that people overlook are insurance. You need liability insurance. You need, business insurance. You need to have a business bank account. You need to have potentially a business license in either your county, your city, or your state, depending on how it's set up in your area. You also need to have, money for any contingencies. You know, it's like, will you, the unexpected things, maybe some things you can predict, maybe some things you can't. Maybe your blow dryer goes off, and I want to hope that's not an omen for mine going out or anything, but maybe your blow dryer goes out and you need to replace your blow dryer. We just had Hurricane Florence to come through here, and the mall where I work is known for flooding. It's actually built on a creek and sits in a valley, and so it floods quite, regularly, I guess you could say. And so with all of the impending storms coming, I was a bit concerned because they said it could flood maybe up to 2 feet. That's a lot of water. And the little shelving drawers or what have you that our tools sit in, if it floods 2 feet, it's going to, wipe out all of my tools. So we took our tools home just to make sure that they would be okay. But that would be, like blow dryer and flat iron and edgers and potentially clippers and, a couple different things, all maybe shot at the same time, and you've got to replace all of it. And so just things like that. Years ago, it's like, I heard of, break-ins and that type of thing where things are taken and you have to suddenly replace things that way. And not to be, Debbie Downer or anything, but it is, just prudent to have a little bit of reserve set aside for anything that may come up. Maybe it's a little bit of a slow week and you have some other things to take care of, so it's like having something set aside might be very helpful. And I talked about insurance. There was something else that I wanted to mention that we don't always think of. Oh, I know, if you're setting up an actual salon, sometimes we forget about the signage outside. Depending on the shopping center where you are, they may have mandates as far as what that sign needs to look like in terms of the colors and all of that. It's usually way up high, so you've got to go, hi Winona, welcome. You've got to go to a sign place, and you've got to make sure that they actually do the installation of the sign place. They need to take exact measurements, and you probably want to have some type of professional logo designed because it's going to be really big. It's not like, an Instagram picture or like your profile picture on Facebook. It's going to be huge, and so you want something that's going to look great from down the street so people can tell that your salon is there. And hi there. We're waiting on Diane, so I'm just sharing a few things about salon ownership. And it looks like she is here. Okay, so let's see if I might be able to do this. Okay, she says wave. Diane, I'm not sure if you're seeing anything that will allow you to attach, but let me see if I can. It's not showing up, which may mean that you might be on a computer. And I learned from our last session that when you come on a computer, you can't, how to go live. Are you on a computer? Because you need to do it from your phone. That's the only way that you see the, there's like a little green man or a little green arrow or something that's next to your name. And when it shows up, can you join us by phone? I'm hoping, fingers crossed. Because it doesn't work for some reason from the computer. Yes, okay. So we'll see you shortly. But I'm not sure why they set it up like that, but we did learn that from our last go-round with trying to get Lavonda on. It's like we had such a challenge. Okay, perfect. So we'll look to see you shortly. And so, yeah, the signage, and it can be fairly expensive to get the sign made depending on the size that you need, and they need to have exact measurements, which means they probably need to crawl up there and actually take the measurements. Your landlord may have some of the numbers or what have you that they need to do it, but you may want to have them double check just to make sure, because you don't want to pay for a sign and then it doesn't fit. And then again, you're wanting to get a logo done, and so that whoever does the logo, the graphic designer or what have you, that they know how large it's going to be. And so things like that are some of the things that sometimes we don't really think about, but they're very important and can add to that bottom line as far as what needs to happen. So let me see here. I'm still seeing Diane on here. At least I think. Nope. I can't add you yet, Diane, if you are still on. So hop off the computer and hop on the phone and we'll be able to get started. So, and let's see. Towels. When you start your first, like say, booth rental or salon suite, you need to have all your supplies, which, you know, it doesn't sound like, oh, well, shampoo's only, you know, X number of dollars and this is only that much. But when you start adding up everything that you use and everything that you need, it can be quite an expense. Like, woohoo, it's like I spent how much? Just getting some of the basic things that you need on a regular basis. Of course, things like rollers and rods and things that you may not use on a frequent basis, but you may have those clients, you know, you have a walk-in client and they want to get done. Okay, you're on your phone now. There should be something green next to you, and let me see if I can pull you up on here. I still am not getting you so that I can see you to add you. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Invite. Oh, that's only inviting you to watch. Yeah. I always have trouble with trying to... There we go. Get that back there. Hi, Danielle. Welcome. I think I missed someone else that came on. Okay, there's Diane. No, I'm still not able to add you, Diane. So I'm hoping we can get you on soon. And I'm just talking a little bit about some of the expenses we forget live, okay? Nope. Okay, you see me. Do you see something next to me, next to you that says join me? It's a little green man or a green something. See, I can add Winona. It has a button next to her when I look at the you guys that are on here with me. But I'm not able to add you, Diane. You see me. Okay. This is frustrating. That might be good. I'm not sure though. Those are the invites. We already did that. Don't want to turn the screen around. Just trying to see if there's anything here that I can do. Hi, Grace. Welcome. We're still trying to figure out getting Diane on. This is the frustrating part of the technology. And I'm just talking about a few things to consider that sometimes get overlooked when you're actually opening a salon. And things like insurance, things like your signage, things like your products that you're going to need, things like your tools and all that kind of stuff. You got an invite to join. Okay, I did send that. And you're on your phone, is that right? That was the problem that we had the other day. Yeah, hi there, Grace. And yeah, even the way Grace came in, it's like I can get her. I think I can add her. Danielle, I'm trying to think if there's any settings or anything. Hi, Savonia, how are you? Welcome. I think I'm pronouncing your name. You're on your phone, yes. Do you have any of your settings set to private, maybe, instead of public? I'm reaching for straws here. Hi there, see the wave. But, I really want to hear from Diane. And it may not let us. So, just a few more of the things to keep in mind with owning a salon, some of the things that you don't think about, will you need any type of help? How are you going to do your towels? That's another, nothing major, but it can be major, especially when you have salons. Okay, she's going to check on the privacy settings. That may be something that's hampering something. When I had my, which is actually, I guess, my second salon, but when we had the salon, before we did the expansion into the salon and day spa, it was set up for 4, but there actually were about 6 or 7 of us that were working there on various shifts. And that space was a relatively small space, and it didn't really have room for a washer dryer, and so we did not have a washer dryer. And that became more and more frustration. I personally hate taking towels home. I don't know if anybody else feels like I do. I know a lot of people take their towels back and forth, and it's really not a big deal, but just the lugging and doing it after you leave the salon. I just want to kind of leave the salon and go back tomorrow with towels, and even doing the towels there is great. Me too. You hate them too. Hate lugging them. And so, we tried several towel services, which the towel services are, oh, you don't like it either? So I'm not alone, okay? But we tried several towel services, and one of the services, I guess they did like industrial towels, or towels came back feeling like they had been washed in concrete, and it was like, ooh, we can't put that on anyone's neck. I want a nice fluffy towel for our clients. Putting towels away. Yep, that's part of the job. But it's fine when you're there and you're doing it. It's the lugging or the trying to find just the right person to take care of the towels to do them. And we went through several services without much success, and we finally had someone who was able to do them on a longer term basis, and they did do a good job. But then occasionally there'd just be like some type of hiccup. And so, those are all things to consider. I would say, how are you going to handle that? And, it's like expansion is always key. It's like if you are going to have a salon or even work as a booth runner or working in a suite, are you going to have an assistant to work with you? How are you going to find that assistant? How are you going to train that assistant? Those are things to kind of think about. Maybe not up front, but I kind of suggest thinking ahead of, like what your growth plan is going to look like. How many clients a day are you doing currently? How many clients a day do you really want to do on a regular basis? Are there any upcoming services that you're going to introduce where you may do fewer clients, where you may have clients who are trying to get in but can't get into you because you have much less space? And so maybe there's someone that you can help to get in position to give that overflow to. So that's still a resource or benefit to you in the salon in terms of your income. And so, these are things to think about. Of the 5 things that I suggest knowing before you start or open a salon, 1 is clients. How many clients do you have? Do you have enough clients to support the expenses that are going to be coming up? And we always tend to overestimate our income and underestimate the expenses. So if we flip the script a little bit and start to underestimate our income, what's kind of worst case scenario, what are my low weeks? What are my slow weeks? Let's use that as the baseline for what our income may look like. And what are the expenses? And why don't I add like 10% or maybe even 20% if I'm unsure of a lot of things as to what those expenses may look like, and still make sure that there's a balance there and that you're coming out ahead, because it's like you don't want to work all week just to pay your booth rent. You want to work all week and take some money home and be able to take care of your expenses and do some fun things, hopefully. The other thing is a marketing plan. It's like you've got to have a plan in place to get more clients, because one of the things that I have found in the industry, and you may have experienced it or not, is, sometimes clients are like, oh my gosh, you should open up and this, that, and the other. And you tell them that you're opening and they're all excited. And some of them are, they're ride or die. They're coming with you no matter what. But some of them are kind of sitting back, taking a look. It's like, well, I wonder what that's going to look like. I don't know about this. And so I got to go check it out and tell my girls if it's, the spot or what have you, or not. And, whether we're going to be going and that type of thing. And so sometimes you have people, like you have a lot of clients, but they don't all follow you, or they follow you for that first week, to check things out, but they're really just being nosy. They don't really have an intention of staying with you. So you got to have a marketing plan. You got to have a backup plan so that you can get new clients in that new location, to fill in any spaces that may open up. And maybe, you're really blessed and all of your clients love you, or you have too many clients and, by the time some fall off, it's perfect. So that's great, but you still want to have something in place, because just natural attrition, unfortunately, people are going to die, people are going to move, people are just going to have a life circumstance where they can't come, like they did or like they would like to. Maybe yay, Diane's here. Maybe maybe there's a parent that's sick, or they have to relocate with a spouse, to another area, so they're not going to be able to keep coming. And so you want to have people coming in all the time so that you don't have to worry about that. And right before Diane joins us, it's like, I just want to throw in, be really conscious.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, yay, so happy to see you. That took a little bit, right?
Oh my God, I did have to take it off of private.
Oh, okay. It was on private. Okay.
It was on private.
We're learning every week. I learn a little tip, so I'll know that for the next time. Okay, so get yourself situated, and we'll introduce you and have you introduce yourself as well. But the other thing that I wanted to share before we get started with you, just since I was going through some of those items that I like for people to know before they open the salon, is make sure you know what's in your lease. A lot of us go in and it's like we just, it's like, here's the lease. Oh, I found the perfect space. And you take it and you don't know what's in it, and you don't necessarily negotiate. And what you want to look for is like worst case scenario. It's like, what happens if I don't pay the rent? What happens if something breaks? Who's responsible for it? There's lots of different things in a lease that you really want to be aware of before you sign on the dotted line, because when you sign on that dotted line, you are signed up. You are not, probably one out of maybe 100 or 200 people might get out of a lease, but pretty much you're on the line. You're going to be paying some way or shape or what have you. So you want to know what you're getting into before you actually sign up for it. So are you all settled, Diane?
Yeah, I just want to plug my phone in just in case the battery dies.
That would be all we need, right? Mine's plugged in right now, too. Okay. Yay! We're here together. Yay!
Hey!
Well,
my goodness.
So this is Diane DaCosta. It's like, she's a veteran in the industry, textured hair specialist, great colorist, and been a long time salon owner. So tell us like a little bit about yourself, about your experience in the industry with salons and ownership, and we'll jump into a few tips and questions
with
salon ownership.
With ownership. Okay. Well, I've been in. So my name is Diane DaCosta. I've been in the industry for over 30 years now. My first salon I opened up after being in the industry for 6 years. I opened my first salon in Manhattan on 62nd Street in West End, basically Midtown Lincoln Center area.
High rent district.
I was there.
High rent district.
Yeah, it is a high rent district, but actually I really got a good lease. I got a 10-year lease in that area for $2,000, which was really awesome because I was actually closer to the water, which is now where all of the Trump condos were built after I left. So that area was still developing, but my salon was more of a destination site or salon. So people came from all over. So most people would be afraid to go in that direction because it's not exactly close to the train. It's
Mhm.
maybe like 4 or 5 blocks from the train,
Mhm.
where you want to actually be, you want to have a great location,
Okay.
meaning, subway, train, and car,
Okay. Okay.
and street traffic. I had a little distance from the train, but it was walkable
Mhm.
if and everybody walks in the city. So,
Right.
um, but your location is very important. So right now, that location is really hot
Right. Okay.
because it's all built up now. So there's, tons of condominiums, everything on the west side right now is very expensive.
Okay.
I would think the rent over there now would be way into like anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 a month.
Yeah, minimum, I'm
Now,
sure. Yeah.
right.
So let me pause you there. It's like I think location is really key, one of the key things that you want to talk about. And like you said, it's like you ideally want somewhere, where there's traffic, where there's, maybe a trendiness or something like that. But if you have the right place and the right marketing, it's like you can
Right.
make almost any location work as long as
Yeah.
it's conducive to the clientele that you're trying to attract.
Yes, exactly. So my clients came from all
Mhm.
over the city, as well as internationally, as well, as New Jersey, Connecticut. So I had the whole tri-state area,
Mhm.
as well as nationally and internationally coming to me at the time. So the location was great for me because the rent was lower and I knew the clients would come.
Right.
So that's exactly, you should take all of that into consideration when you look for your space.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, like you were saying, like the trendy location may be the perfect spot, but it may be the higher rent that
Yes,
makes it like
exactly.
prohibitive. And
Right.
I talked about leases, you're talking about location and all of that. And one of the things that I think makes the biggest difference now, versus when I had my salon, which was about 20 years ago, is that the proportion of rent has gone up when the proportion of
Yes.
everything else has, kind of incrementally gone up. And with
Right.
a salon business, it's like there's not a large margin of profit for most, other than the owner working, there's not a large margin of profit for the actual business. And so you're looking at, 3 to 6% in terms of what's actually left over after everything is taken out, without the owner's, money coming in, as
Right.
far as running a salon. And maybe if you're really, really, really good, maybe 10%. But if your rent goes up, 15%, it's like you're already like running behind trying to play catch up. And I see that,
Right.
which I think is part of why the suites are a good option
Yeah.
sometimes, because it's like you've got a, a stable amount of rent that's not so prohibitive um, to actually having a profitable business.
Well, as far as negotiating your lease, that is where you really have to know how to negotiate it even before you bring in your lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
because usually your lawyer does not negotiate your lease. He
Right.
just facilitates the 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 signing of the lease and will advise you. However, um, negotiating a 5 to 10 year
Mm-hmm.
lease is if you can get a 10-year lease with a lower um, monthly rent, then that's in your favor
Right.
because you can negotiate a long-term increment of 3% usually or less, depending
Mm-hmm.
on the cost of living increase. So if you know that you're going to stay for a long period of time, then you want to get a 10-year lease. If not, a 5-year lease is the minimum that you should get because business, especially if it's your first time business,
Mm-hmm.
you're really not going to start making a real profit until after it's really 5 years. They say 3 to 5, but it's really 5.
Okay. Okay. After all of the investments that you put out
Right.
up front. Okay. So talk to us about a few of those. I was going over some of the expenses and things that sometimes we overlook, such as, the signage on the outside, that can be an expense. Business insurance, sometimes we don't really think
Yeah.
about.
So I'm in a salon suites now, which is really nice. However, I'm opening up a new salon, and if I tell you, there's so many, cost to take into consideration in opening up a brand new salon. So basically, before you even before you even get into the space, you have to have business insurance, uh, malpractice insurance for yourself, and then later on add on all the staff that you will hire. You have to have compensation insurance, um, and including in your insurance, you have to add on the landlord and all of their affiliates
Right.
as an excess liability insurance to the general insurance.
Right.
So you have to have all of this before you even go to close.
Right. Okay.
So that's already an extra expense for you and your company that you have right now that you have to take into consideration into your monthly budget.
Right. Right. And so you've got some upfront costs that come with that. Got to put the deposit down. We've got to pay for this.
Plus,
that.
Right. Security plus your first month's rent, your lawyer's fee,
right,
your accounting fee to get your financials in order to present to your landlord and any financial institution that you're borrowing the funds from.
Right.
So
these are good tips. You guys liking this? It's like shoot us a heart. This is good stuff.
So that's just up front before you even get in the space, before you even start negotiating the lease,
right,
and signing off on the lease.
Okay, so the next area I wanted to just kind of throw in there, that you kind of skirted around. It's like you're going into a new space. I always think, find out what it was before so you can see things, how much electricity might be there, how much water might be there. Those are kind of nice things. But what about like the blueprints and the layout and design? All of that stuff has to be done, and that's before you get in there as well.
Right, exactly. So when you're scouting all of your spaces, and you're going to look at a few, I looked at so many before I decided on this one, but you will have to take your contractor with you, who will also bring in your electrician and your plumber to scout the space and see if there's any, anything going on with the construction, and then they can only give you a rough estimate at that point.
Right.
After looking at the electrical, additional plumbing or brand new plumbing. They have to get to the underground level to see what is actually provided and what will have to be done.
Right. Okay.
So, and you might do that several times before you actually decide on which thing you want. Right. Including in that, you should get the building, the certificate of occupancy, and the zoning.
Right. Right.
To make sure that it's actually zoned for retail.
Right. Yeah. Very, very key. And if you are doing any kind of build out, you're going to need to work with an architect, because they're probably going to have plans and drawings that have to be signed off by the county before you even start the construction, or before you can finish the construction. They've got to come out and do the inspections on all ends. And definitely, one of the things, like, you work with all these professionals This is my experience anyway. It's like you work with the attorney, you work with the, accountant, you work with the architect, all of these people, but me, I only have a limited amount of knowledge about what it is they're doing. You know what I mean? So it's like I need to be starting to become more aware of certain things. With
So
Yeah, it's like, so with the architect, making sure it's like, what is this space zoned for? What's the
right,
use and occupancy license for? So you can see what things that you're going to need to address. Because you don't want to you got a blueprint made up, you get it down to the county, and then you can't get the use and occupancy.
right, right, exactly. So you want to have your team together, or knowledge of a team that you're going to bring in when you're scouting,
Mm.
and also to get approved. The
Mm-hmm.
architectural plan get approved by, if the
Right.
landlord requires that, to sign off on all plans
Oh,
and go to
we're losing
the county or
your
the building.
audio.
Oh,
You're breaking
can
up
you hear
just
me
a little
now?
bit. Okay.
No.
Say what you just said again. Let's see if we can hear you.
What I said is that before you go to the county or the city, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
If before you take your plans down to the county or the city, they might they might have to be approved by the landlord
Right.
first.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So before that, I was saying it's important to have your team together,
Mm-hmm.
because the landlord might have to approve everybody. He might have
Oh, okay.
to approve your contractor,
Mm-hmm.
right? He might have to approve your plumbing and all of that. If you have a general contractor, then he'll have to approve that, and then they'll sign off. They sign off to the plans before it goes to, the city or this county or whomever
Right. Okay.
you're registering with, to get the permits first, to just knock down the walls,
Right.
just to do demolition.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't
Right.
want to start anything before you have all of these things in
No.
place either, because they can
Yes.
say that you can't move forward. They can shut you down and you're
Right.
midstream and you already have, like you say, all this money out. And so you wanna play by their rules. They're the ones, they say, he who has gold rules. It's like the county rules, and
And you
of course the landlord.
and the rules are the county, not the county or the city, not what the maybe the landlord is telling you. You need to find out
Right.
exactly what is going
Mm-hmm.
on for yourself, and that's why you should be knowledgeable about these things, because you
Right.
can't just listen to what other people are telling you.
Right.
You have to do your due diligence and understand what's going on yourself.
Exactly. And I think that's sometimes the part that we miss. It's like we're so excited about doing hair and putting in some pretty chairs and a nice mirror
Right.
that we lose track of. It's like we're actually opening a business and we're going to be running a business, and we've got to start to transition our minds that we're business owners.
Right.
Yeah, my
So the
experience. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, of course, the creative part is the most fun.
Exactly.
Just designing and picking out all the furniture and the wall color and
Right.
the wallpaper and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's visual. So we love that part of
Right.
it. But when you have to get to the concrete, the business part of it,
Right.
and that's just dealing with that aspect of it. And then there's, moving forward, like your banking institution, what type of
Mm-hmm.
methods are you going to use to keep the records, your point of purchase, whether it's going to be online or, all of these things you have to start getting into place, as well as the licensing for your business, and
Right.
your license for your business and yourself. Your cosmetology license has to be up to date. Your business license for the business, your state and city tax certificates,
Mm-hmm.
authority,
Right.
before you even open.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All of the done before you even put your chairs in there
Right.
to start working.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot to it. That's why I wanted to invite you, because I know that you have had the experience and you're having it kind of currently with some of these
you know
things.
what?
It's really
It's
key.
so crazy. It's so crazy because from what I remember the last time,
Hmm.
it was not so much work.
Hmm.
And maybe because I was much younger and so had so much more energy that maybe I didn't really notice how much
Right.
work it was.
Yeah.
But this time around, wow, it's really keeping all the pieces together is very challenging,
Hmm.
and working,
Right.
right?
Right. Don't forget that.
And
Right.
still
Behind the chair still.
right, and
While
still
you're
being
doing
behind
all
the
of
chair
this.
running
Yeah. It's
and
definitely
running,
that juggling act.
right. So it's very challenging, I must say. And I wonder why I do it so often. I must love it. Huh?
It's the thrill. Yep, it's the
Yeah.
thrill. But yes, I think Grace was saying
The
that she
thrill,
go ahead. Go ahead. She was saying that
the
she's
thrill,
just, I think, making sure that she needs to have all these people kind of in place before she starts to move forward. And I would say at least a
yeah,
contractor, kind of a general contractor, like Diane said, it'll be a rough estimate, but at least you'll know, it's like, are you talking 10,000?
uh,
You're talking 100,000. You
yeah,
you want some kind of, you don't want to think you're talking 10,000, and then when you have, after you've signed the lease, and you find out, oh my God, it's going to be 100,000 to do just the build out without the equipment in there. So you do want to have some of those
yeah.
people lined up. And
So that would be, yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say
yeah.
yes. That would just be a general estimate because once you
Mhm.
actually get in space and really, you know,
Right.
it will change.
Yeah, once you get the
It's gonna,
architectural plans, you should have
yeah,
a pretty solid idea. But then I don't know if you guys are HGTV fans or not, but there's, when you're working on a building, there's always a surprise. There's always something that pops up, like, oh my God, we didn't know this was going to happen. So put that in your budget. Something's going to happen. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but something's probably
yeah.
going to happen.
But also, don't just take one contractor's um,
Bid.
estimate.
Hmm.
Yeah, his bid or his estimate, and they always overbid. So it's your job to negotiate down
Okay.
because
We're
they
gonna
always overbid
we're gonna
unless
have to
they're
have
your
a whole segment on
another one.
contractors, because
That's a whole nother
that's
thing.
a whole nother topic, because it's like we need training, military training, to deal with contractors, because
Yes,
it's
yeah. But you will find, I firmly believe that, God will send you the right person.
hmm.
You just
Hmm.
can't rush
Right.
to take whatever anybody is presenting to you. Um, Especially if you've gotten bids that is more in your budget, then there is someone out there for you,
Hmm.
and that will work with you. So, that's the most important thing. Like, just because you want to be in the space and you want to start working, don't really rush
Right.
to just take whomever is going to get you there,
Right.
because you'll end up paying so much money that it's not you're not going to recoup it,
Hmm.
in a profitable way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're definitely right about that, and definitely I think prayer should definitely be part of the equation. That you get connected
Right.
with the right people, and all of that. So I think you had like one more thing to kind of share with us, and I appreciate all that you're sharing, because it's really really good stuff. We're getting some really great comments and stuff, and I don't think I said or mentioned, but it's like Diane was actually one of the salon owners who has been part of the Dream Team training, and it's like we're getting ready to do our one day. We're going to kind of condense it into one day. I don't even know if I've told you about that, Diane, but it should be a lot of fun with the hiring piece. It's like when you're setting up a salon, and
uh,
especially if you want to grow,
yeah,
having that piece in place. And so I wanted to find out kind of from you,
I, I
you know,
that one.
as a season. Uh-oh, what were you saying?
I said I want to come back on that one when you're teaching that one again.
Oh, okay, yes, yes. But I wondered, like, you're a seasoned professional. You've had salons, you've had, teams and that type of thing.
Hmm.
What was it that made you want to be part of, that training? Because I think it was.
So I wanted to come back to training because the last time I took real training on hiring was my first salon.
Mm-hmm.
So over 16 years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and since then, I've been an independent contractor, um, renting in others' salons, and then I have the salon suites now for 7 years.
Okay.
So I've hired people to work with me, but basically as assistants and training them to be a stylist, right? So on a bigger scale, which is where I'm going now, I'm coming back to creating a team again.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I haven't been doing that. I've been really focusing on one-on-one type
Mm-hmm.
boutique style servicing the clients, so they have immediate access to me all the time. And when you own a larger salon or you have a team working for you, you really have to get the right people in place that are, just highly trained, efficient, and are basically as good as you
Mm-hmm.
already,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and the proper management team
Mm-hmm.
surrounding you to make your venture successful.
Right.
So I felt like I know this, but I'm not practicing it. So if you're not practicing it, you don't really know it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you don't.
Yeah.
So I'm honest with myself to know that I need some coaching in this area. And what that does is it allows me to train with more professionals in that area,
Mm-hmm.
and also to get feedback from other professionals who are actually doing it day in and day out. Um, so that's why I felt like it would be very important for me to brush up on all of that.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think having had larger operations, it's like having systems in place is really, really key. And so having a hiring system so that you can continue, like I was saying with your clients, you want to have a marketing plan where you're continuing to get more clients.
Mm-hmm.
With having a salon, it's like you want to have applications coming in kind of on a regular basis so that you can have people to choose from should something happen to some of your existing team or should you want to expand. You've gotten busier, you have more clients that you can kind of feed to some of these other stylists. It's like, where do you find them, how do you have them, and have them
Exactly.
ready to go.
So from taking your class, I have all my material now. I have all the theory. I have all the manuals. I have my manuals. I have other manuals to integrate and update,
Mm-hmm.
and to take into consideration all the different technology that's going on now and how I actually want to do it differently this time.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's not only paper, it's video, it's
Right.
social media, electronic, um, and I also understand that I can't do it by myself.
Right.
So I've hired a consultant assistant to handle that area
Mm-hmm.
for me,
Nice.
so she can actually implement it. I can tell her what I want
Mm-hmm.
and give her all the information, and then
Right.
she can actually we can uh, brainstorm on all of it
Mm-hmm.
and then implement it
Right.
quickly, because I'm doing all these other things,
Right.
right? So when do I have time to actually type? or
Right.
to go over all the documents and everything that I've learned in your class, and then sit down every night or morning or whatever to actually, implement it and put it into the manuals.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I don't.
I think that's the mark.
Because I haven't done it since I took your
Right.
class. So I have to, get that in place. So that's your team, like pulling in
Right.
your supportive team to help you with all of that.
Right. And I think, I was going to say, I think that's really the mark of a great business person, businesswoman, is that you are able to delegate and are able to know it's like, okay, I don't need to do this 100%. I can get help. I can, have someone else to do part of this. And, maybe I do a review kind of thing, or like you say, brainstorming. All of those things are really key to your success in terms of, running a business, opening a business. You guys can see how much other people play into the success of it. It's like you can't necessarily just go out here alone and be able to take on all of the tasks that need to be done.
Yeah, yeah, you have your advisors, so you always have your main advisors. You have your accountant, you have your lawyer, you have your financial advisor, and then you have yourself, right? You're the creative,
Mm-hmm.
so you know what you want in a stylist, but you know what you like, but is that really what is good for the business? And
Mm-hmm.
usually we like people who are like us, right?
Right, right.
So,
Yeah, we
but
definitely need
that doesn't mean
a mix.
that right. That doesn't mean that the whole team is gonna work with all of the same type of people.
It's probably not if you have all the same types of people and personalities. Can you spell class?
Not gonna work. So that's why it's important to have that other. So just as a owner and a
Mm-hmm.
creator, you talk to yourself a lot. You have a lot of information, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you need other people to bounce it off of,
Right.
to get it out and to get the feedback back because you spend a lot of time alone, basically,
Yeah, that's
um,
true.
just brainstorming with yourself and coming up with all these, marketing
Uh-huh.
plans and hairstyles and researching everything that you want to all the products and
Mm-hmm.
and what's new, what's going on in the industry and all of these things. But where are you getting it? How are you um, how are you getting feedback
Mm-hmm.
on that? What all everything you've taken in,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah. I call those like brilliant ideas. It's like some of them are brilliant and some of them are duds. So,
right,
and you do need some feedback to kind of flesh out. It's like, okay, let's run with this one. Let's kind of put some of these on
right,
the back burner and let's toss a few of them, you know. But they all sound really good when they're in your head, right?
right. And then just like having those key people because you don't want to tell everybody
Right, right,
because everybody's gonna have an opinion on
right, right,
what you're thinking and what you're doing. So yeah, that core team for you initially before you open
mm,
is very important.
right,
And testing what you're bringing to your new project.
right,
Testing it with a group of people.
right, right. Well, I think you shared like some super valuable things. It's like we're getting lots of likes and comments and stuff. So I appreciate you being here. So is there anything that you want to kind of leave us with as far as, something top of mind that it's like, okay, if you're thinking about opening a business, don't forget about this. Or any words of wisdom or words
Well,
which some
you know
share.
what? This is really um, even if you're opening up your first business or you're opening up, you know, several businesses. What my pastor just said on Sunday is really key. Um, the more the more you want to be successful and the more you strive to grow and attain things, the most important thing is are you, is it joyful?
Mm-hmm.
Are you loving what you're doing? Is it meaningful to you, and does it make you happy?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Whether it's your first salon or your third salon or whatever business you decide to go into or whatever you're doing in life.
Mm-hmm.
I had to say that to myself afterwards. I'm like, what am I doing that's going to make me happy? It's
Mm-hmm.
not just the money, obviously, because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, profit margin is not really that grand in
Right.
salon ownership. It's when you take it to a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
So when you make those decisions from the very beginning, does that make you happy? And is it joyful
Mm-hmm.
to you? To you, not to anybody else,
Right.
but does it make you happy?
Right.
So that's what I want to leave with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
because I had to think about that again myself. What is really, why am I doing this? Is this going to make me
Mm-hmm.
happy, you know,
Right.
to do this or whatever else I'm planning on doing
Mm-hmm.
in that
Yeah.
space, you know,
Yeah, that's a wonderful
right?
place to leave.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all about making yourself happy and doing what you love to do. And in my whole career, I've always loved what I did. So it was never work, you know, and then it starts becoming work.
Okay.
and then you say, why am I doing this? And how am I supposed to be doing it?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it becomes more laborious when I'm actually doing the creativity that is not what I really want to do. So basically, I know how to do a lot of things, but I love cutting and coloring,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I discussed that with you before.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward,
Right.
even though I did everything and I do natural hair and I rather pass that on and teach that to
Mm-hmm.
others, but I really want to focus on cutting and coloring now,
Got it.
and that's really what's going to make me happy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So those are the decisions you make moving in any direction that you want to go into.
Mm-hmm.
When I came into the business, I said cutting and coloring is what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up doing that, but more of the natural hair styling, and
Okay.
becoming an expert in all of that. But color and cutting was always what I did,
Right.
regardless.
Yeah.
I brought it to the natural hair movement, but I still will focus on texture,
Mm-hmm.
but it will be all about cutting and coloring.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really a great point that you make, that it does have to bring you joy. And that's, when I meet with people to coach with them, it's like, if you imagine just kind of the perfect day, what would you spend that time doing? And the cutting and coloring, it's like, I'm with you 100% for that.
Right. It's like,
Yeah.
what brings you joy in your perfect world? What would it be? At this point, yes,
Hmm.
we can say
Right.
that. But if you're just starting, obviously, you have to make choices and which way you're going to go. you know. So that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I would
But
tell anybody who's starting or you're already down the do what makes you happy and what brings you joy every day.
right.
Every day it has to bring you joy.
Uh-oh. Okay. Yes. Well, you're breaking up just a little bit, but I think we'll go ahead and end it here. I've even lost track of the time, so I guess that's a good thing. But when you're having so much fun, but I want to thank you guys that have joined us live, and then anyone watching afterwards. Definitely leave any questions or any comments that you might have for us. It's like I'll be checking through just to see if there's anything that we can answer for you. But I think you really covered some key things, with talking about the location and things to look out for with that, so it doesn't have to be the perfect location as long as it's the perfect location for your space, for the type of salon that you want, and that it accommodates the things like the the landlord, has a lot to do with, it's like, is this a good space? It's like, if the landlord won't work with you, it doesn't matter how great it is, you may have to take a pass.
And your market, will your market come to you wherever you are?
Right.
That's really the key.
Definitely. So a lot of great points that were covered today. It's like, I definitely wish you much success with your expansion, moving into the new space. And I know that's a little work in progress, which is definitely why I want to bring you here. And definitely want to invite anyone to have a conversation with me about the Dream Team. We're going to do a one-day intensive where it will be all condensed into one day. I know everybody's like, I don't have much time. And so we're putting it together so it will be one day. Well, it's going to be in 3 segments.
How long is
It's going to be from 10 to 4. It'll be on Monday, October 15th. So it's, I think, about 3 weeks from now. So the early bird special, I'm pushing out till tomorrow because I won't have time to do much today. But it's like, I'll push it back till tomorrow for early bird. So you save 50% with the early bird special. And after that, it will go up. But we'll do it in 3 segments. And it's really kind of what you need to know to get that next great person in there in the next 90 days. So, we'll focus on, we'll get to know kind of where your starting point is. So we know exactly how to go, but we're going to go through the 5-step hiring process. It's a proven system. It's like, it will help you to distinguish, who's a good fit and who's not. It also includes all the documents that you mentioned, like you already have things so that you're already set up to go, including my special application that's designed to weed out 90% of the people for you. It does the job for you, so you can stay behind your chair. And the next segment, everybody wants to know how they're going to get paid, so we'll go over compensation. So we'll look at booth rental. If you're going to run a booth rental salon, what are the things that you need to know and have in place? Just watch. I don't know if everybody's watched, but there's a great video that is done. Her name is Tammy Golden, and I'm forgetting her name, but the beauty CEO, I think. But she did a fabulous job of sharing some information about what's going on in California and a lot of the laws that are just across the board with IRS and all that kind of stuff. You want to make sure that you have your T's crossed and I's dotted for booth rental. And then, of course, commission, how do you make it all win-win? Any way that you're going to do compensation, it's got to work for the salon and it's got to work for the people that are working there. And so we'll give you all kind of the layout of what that looks like. And even looking at team-based pay and hourly plus bonus, those types of things we'll throw in there as well. So you'll leave with whatever compensation plan that you're ready to get started with, and all the details and things that you need, the documents and things that go with it. With a booth rental, it's like there is an agreement that's part of it as a template, so that you can take that to your attorney and have them kind of tweak whatever may need to be tweaked for your specific area, because everybody's areas are different, is number one. And it's cheaper if you take them something and say, cross this out, move this, what have you. They can do all of that. But if they start creating a document for you from scratch, you're going to pay pretty big. So we have that as part of it. So that will save you quite a bit with working with your attorney. And then the last part of the day, we're going to go with that onboarding. How do you set people up for success from the beginning? So we'll go, what does their day one look like? First week, first month, first 90 days. So you're building that loyalty because you want them to stay. You've invested a lot to get them in there in the first place and get them trained and all of that. And and you also want to keep them from, self-destructing, I guess is what I call it. So doing that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing, like, who is this person? This isn't the person I thought was going to be working. So we'll go through all of those things all in one day, and you'll leave, ready to get your next person. Really should be fairly quick within the next 90 days or so. And so all of that will be covered, access to all of the documents. And one of the things that you guys found really helpful was being able to connect with other like-minded salon owners and build those connections. And so that's definitely part of the day as well. And it will be interactive and it will be working. So it won't be like learning. It'll be like, let's put your plan into place. So when you leave here today, you don't have anything else to do. And we're separating out the leadership piece because I think that's the part that really takes time to kind of build on. So look for, the next layer is how do you, become and stay an effective leader as you're growing your business. So any questions that you have about that, you can check it out on onedaydreamteam.eventbrite.com. I'll put a link down there for you. And I'm also going to be talking to people tomorrow. I've got about 3 appointments that are available for like 20-minute kind of laser focused coaching calls for anybody who's interested in starting a business and or, talking about building their team. So we'll leave it right there. Contact me, put your name down below, private message me, and we'll get it set up. So I want to thank you, Diane, for taking time out of your evening to share all of your wisdom. Yeah, this has been wonderful and really great information. You. So we'll have to do it again, and definitely hoping you can make it for that next Dream Team training. So.
Okay. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what my schedule
is
like.
Yeah, I know it's kind of crazy right now, right?
Really packed now.
Yeah. But you got it. You got all that you need. You got all the foundation.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, I gotta put that all in the other assistant's hands now.
Right. Yep. Pass the baton. So.
We're actually moving on in that direction now. So
awesome.
We'll keep you posted on how we're doing.
Sounds great. Well, you take good care. Okay. Best of luck with everything.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will look forward to seeing you next Monday.
Okay. Bye-bye.
See if I can do this here. Yeah, without